This is True, and I'm here today with a good friend of mine, Vangneng. We have history together professionally, but today the main topic here is going to be um, spirituality and mental health. And as some of you guys have met with me before to have readings and sessions, I've told you guys, your situation. Sometimes if it feels like it's other than spiritual problems, it's probably like an issue where you need to see a counselor or a therapist. It could be for you, or it could be your relationship with your partner. And I'm pretty clear about that when I, sit down with some of you and we explore that. So I wanted to have my buddy Vangneng here to talk about his experience with mental health and how he can help some of you guys if you guys need his help. So without any further ado, here is my buddy Vangneng. Go ahead, man.
Hi guys. My name is, like you said, my name is Vangneng, and I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist in the state of Minnesota. So I work primarily with individuals. I work with children, adults. Work with couples, married, not married, families, and so I do a whole lot of work with, just individuals, families, couples. So, and hopefully today, I could share a little bit about mental health, relationships. So yeah.
Yeah, all right. So let's talk about the mental health piece, man. What are some of the myths about mental health that you can kind of clarify for us? Because I know a lot of people have different misconceptions about what mental health really is. And more importantly, a lot of people, they are afraid to seek mental health help. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, maybe some of you guys are aware of it already, but just in receiving mental health service, mental health work service, one of the big thing is stigma, or in the in some culture, they call it, you're crazy, if you're seeking a therapist, or you're seeking, even, a psychiatrist, someone who prescribes medication. It's like you have to be so crazy to even go to those people, or just people think really negatively, of a person who, goes and seek help. However, it's I think as all therapists, we all go through trainings, we all go through our own life experiences, and actually, some of us, we attend therapy,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If I'm having marital problems or marriage problems, it's I'll seek therapy from a therapist, a clinician, so that I could gain better insights into my relationship, with my wife, or my kids, and actually, in just learning about myself and my career, I actually sought therapy so that I could further explore my own strengths, and maybe things that I wasn't doing too well, but just being able to explore and look at a different perspective, of my life. But yeah, I think just the word crazy is such a stigmatizing word, and myth that I think a lot of people are afraid to go and probably say, I'm gonna get labeled.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So being labeled the word crazy is bad. Being labeled anything that you don't want to be labeled is bad. But mental health is not. If you want to go see a therapist, it's not always because you have depression, anxiety, or any other mental health symptoms. It's more like I'm glad you mentioned this, where you can go and learn more about yourself, discover more things about yourself. And so that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going there because you have depression. Now, if you have that, you can always use a mental health professional therapist for that reason. But like Vangneng said, we have to really be open-minded to the idea that if we go see a therapist, it's not necessarily because they're only there if we have depression or anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
We might be stuck in something in our life where there's a huge hurdle that we can't figure out what it is or pinpoint what it is to move forward. And by meeting a therapist, they help you dissect deeper into what's causing you to be stuck there, and so you can move forward. Is that kind of accurate?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You know, again, like getting maybe getting a different perspective. You know.
There you go. Yeah.
You know, so I mean, like sometimes people they get stressed out about a relationship that they're in, if they're not quite sure how to approach their partner, approach family members, or like even like maybe someone at work, that something that's been bugging you for so long, and or like maybe something that you feel like you don't know how to navigate around, and it's become stressful for you, and that's where having a therapist who kind of understands your situation, or who could kind of help you navigate through it, or be able to cope with it, or just strategize in a way so that you could move on in your world, whatever you're trying to do. And I'll probably share more later, but like as a therapist, it's like for me and my philosophy, it's like how do I help you so that you're able to develop your own skills, your own way of viewing the world, so that you don't get yourself into a trap situation again. So that when you're faced with the same situation or obstacle, you've learned some skills to navigate or to overcome this particular situation. And I believe in therapy, that's where you learn those insights, or you explore those strategies.
We talked about the word crazy, and for our community, we're a people of reputation and face, right? So when we have issues, mental health issues, or even relationship issues, and I'm just generalizing here, and because based on my experience too, I'm going to speak on this. I feel like a lot of Hmong folks in our community, they miss the opportunity of getting this type of help because they're so afraid of being, labeled, like you were saying earlier, that you have a mental illness or you're having marital problems. And then because they're so afraid of that, they're afraid to reach out for help. And that doesn't help their situation at all. In a lot of cases, it makes it worse. Now, let me ask you, man, what do you think about Hmong couples? Let's say if you're listening right now, you have relationship issues with your partner. I want to ask you, what's the difference between them coming to see you versus them going to see their clan for advice or whatever on their relationship?
I mean that was a good question, good point. I think traditionally, Hmong culture, you want to go to your elders, right? I mean, you still could, but
if you want the man to win,
right? I mean, patriarchy, and what do you kind of like do what your family says. However, I think your relationship with your partner, your husband, your wife, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your relationship is the important part here. And sometimes it's an intimate relationship that you're having. Like think about it. It's intimate. Do you really want to share this with your clan leader who may be I don't know, maybe they care about you, maybe they want you to have a strong marriage, but again, it's like they're still family, and do they talk about your relationship to other people? Do they use you as an example to teach the other people, who might be younger than you or who might be going through the same issues as you? Go pasa, do you and sometimes it's like it's not secure, you know, because it's like, because in therapy, you know, our main thing is there's confidentiality, there's intimacy in that. What you and your partner share, or what you share in therapy, it's private, you know. That's between you and the therapist, you and your partner and the therapist. This is, you know, this is by law, you know, that it remains just between you guys. You know, it's not used, like your story, your information is not used to tell stories to other people as lessons, you know, like this is yours, you know. Whereas if you do take it to your, you know, or you know, clan leaders or whatever you want to call them, elders, you know. Yeah, I mean, it might be helpful. However, you know, there, you know, is there that security to it? You know, where, you know, like, is this person gonna keep this between you and them? You know, or are they gonna make an example out of you? Like, don't be like, you know, tu and mai, you know,
right?
Because tu mai chỉ so she lu and one you know, một tay mình nó. You know, that's something that you have to think about, you know, in making decisions. But, you know, I could, you know, vouch that, you know, as, you know, therapists, you know, we are held to very high standards, you know, of quality care, that, you know, this is confidential, this is private matter, this is, if it's a relationship, it's between you and your partner, and you know, no one's gonna, you know, get in the way of that. It's private. And that you deal with it in a private matter, you know, instead of like bashing each other on, you know, social media, or like, come on, you know, you've probably seen those videos where, you know, people are taking their lives to social media, and they're calling out, you know, their boyfriend, or calling out their husband, calling out their girlfriend, wives, you know. So it's like, that is going to do more harm, you know. Relationship is all about trust. And if you're gonna do any repair, you gotta minimize, you know, the harm you're gonna do to your trust in that relationship.
That's a good point you bring up, man, because I want to stress this out. Okay, so meeting with a therapist such as yourself, the confidentiality piece is very important. I think for a lot of us in the community, that's something we think about. It's like when we're gonna go seek for help, you know, we're always thinking, can I trust this person with my information, right? So I'm glad you brought that example up. So let me try to help out this example. So if they come see you, they're only going to get you in the office. Whereas if they go see a clan leader, right, they're going to see their uncles, they're going to see their cousins. They might even see me there. Like, what the hell is Chu here? And I'd be like, I don't know why the fuck I'm here. I think I'm here because I heard you're going to be here. You know? So, yeah, that's a big difference, man. I'm glad we're talking about this because, you know, I've been to many, because my dad, he was a very important person at one point in our clan, and people came to him for marital advice and all that stuff. And I remember, because my dad knew my professional background doing therapy, he would purposely call me out of the blue and say, hey, Chu, sit here because we have so-and-so coming with their issues and you need to help them. And then when they get there, I'm doing this out of like, I almost want to say community service in a sense, where I just want to be able to be helpful. But when they come to my house and my dad's sitting there and all of a sudden here's me, and back in those days I had long hair and all that stuff. So they're like, why is this bum sitting here listening to my issues, right? So and you know, I'm sure you guys can relate to this, because if you guys, maybe you guys can recall some situations where, you know, you had an aunt or uncle that had marital issues, and they wanted to go see their clan leader, and then all of a sudden it's a house full of people, and like you were saying earlier, man, the information that's discussed there, it's shared with about 10 to 15 people, or however many people's there, and then after they leave that house, you can almost guarantee that they're gonna go start talking shit about your shit situation, right? And so that, I think, one of the myths that we want to kind of address here is, you know, when you meet with a therapist, the confidentiality piece, like you said, you guys are held to a very high standards. I mean, you can get into legal issues, you know, if you break that confidentiality. So please remember that that if you go see a therapist, you have those are your client rights. Is that your information is confidential. Yeah. So let me ask you another one, man. As far as like relationships between kids and parents in our community, what do you think? What do you see is a huge problem going on that's creating disconnects between parent and child?
Yeah. I mean, like, mostly I think in Hmong community, I think, we've gone as far as like, from speaking Hmong and Hmong in the house between the kids and the mom or the dad, to now where it's like probably Hmong and Mika, languages, so that language is one piece, but I think the more important piece is the ability to actually talk, and not just talk, or giving direction or telling people what to do, but to be reciprocal, meaning like I could talk to my dad could talk to me, and we could exchange ideas, we could, talk about how we're doing, talk about how we're feeling, but like to have a more in-depth conversation, I think that's the one piece. I mean, like, I'm not saying, like all Hmong families don't know how to do that. I'm just saying, like, I think, I still think the majority of Hmong families haven't gotten to that level, where they could have that kind of conversation, and it needs to start somewhere, but I think just the ability to be able to talk about, difficult issues or like simple things in the house, as far as like, are you feeling happy, you feeling sad, and being able to access the child or understand what the child is interested in, and then accessing, being able to access them in that way, or even just sharing how you as an adult may be feeling, or how you think about this issue as you're facing this issue in your family with your child. Because I mean, we're models, we're models for our kids, and if we don't really know how to connect to our parents, like think about how are we going to connect to our kids, right. Do we provide that, path to connection, or do we, provide, maybe a one-way path, where we just tell them what to do, and then expect them to just do it the next time, like you should know better already. For example, there's like, which you need to take away, got you,
you're supposed to know already. Yeah, right. There's another myth that I want to kind of address too, where like when you go to see a therapist, I think in our community especially, back when I was still practicing there, I remember a lot of Hmong parents would look to me to fix their kid for them. And that was also always an issue, because sometimes it wasn't the kid that needed to be fixed, it was the parents, right? So when we go to see a therapist, like when they come and see you, what can they expect from you as a therapist? Are you coming at your clients from an approach of, I'm going to give you answers, or I'm going to let's explore answers? Like what's your style? Because
I work with a variety of different types of families, and I mean, like, part of it is really assessing or looking at, what is this parent or this family capable of doing, and looking at, what are they good at doing, what are they doing really well in this family, and helping, like sometimes, parents, they they may be, really good at like probably telling the kids what to do or setting high expectations and examples, but then they're forgetting to, like, connect to the child at a more probably emotional level. But I think that's a good question, but it's I think it's a question where it really kind of depends on the family,
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense.
Because some families, like, you might have to do therapy where you're teaching them skills on how to approach the child.
Right.
Some families you can't even do skills yet, because you have to, like, help the parents kind of buy into therapy.
Yeah.
That like therapy is here to, support you, and this is how you're, I don't know how to explain this, but it's like they kind of have to feel it, and so they have to kind of feel what the child may be feeling, like understanding the child's emotion in a way, and knowing that like there is an issue here, there is an issue here that your child's not feeling well, or you're not feeling well, to feel it first, and then probably explore skills, like what can you kind of like coping skills or skills to engage each other, and slowly build those skills on how to interact or how to talk to your kid, how to be with your child, how to be with your spouse, or how to be with other people in your family, and hopefully be able to develop maybe a more healthy way of connecting, where people feel safe, people feel like they could talk to you when they need something, but it's like, and it takes time, like what I'm trying to say is it takes a lot of time to probably for some families to get there, and some families when they come into therapy, like they have skills, they know how to communicate, but they're running into barriers, and you just have to kind of like help them, identify, different ways of engaging a child, because I mean a 7-year-old child compared to a 14-year-old child, I mean, the way you parent your 7-year-old is very different from 14. So it's like you might have to switch it up. You might have to learn new skills as a parent, or learn new skills as a spouse. In engaging your child, or working with your spouse together to raise this child. So I don't know.
No, I think what you're saying is every family is different. So your approach has to be different with every family depending on what the presenting problem is, right? All right, so now let me ask you this then. What do you think your specialty is as far as like therapy goes? Because you know how every provider, they kind of have a specialized area. What do you think yours is?
I work with kids from like 2 years of age, all the way up to like elderlies, however, kind of like in doing my work, some people focus on problems, some people focus on what's wrong with them, in me providing therapy, I focus more on your resource, or maybe even resource that you don't even know that you have, or your own inner strengths, your own inner honesty, and also, not just like your own inner, self, but also like how do you relate to the world, how do you communicate to other people, how do you communicate to the world, how do you build, better relationship with people, how do you be more kind to yourself, so that you could love yourself more, so that you could feel like you could reach out and do things, so yeah, I think for me, I mean, and I feel like I work with anyone. I mean, especially with young kids. I mean, like I'm not gonna do therapy with a 2-year-old. I'm gonna be doing therapy with the parents of the 2-year-old.
Sure, makes sense.
If you're from the time you were born until probably like 6-7 years old, your main person is gonna be your mom and your dad, or whoever's taking care of you. And those are the people I'm gonna be working with. Is young parents or parents of young kids, which is also, I think, another niche that I'm working with, is providing support for young parents or parents with kids, going through the struggle, and just knowing that like you could do this, and there's a way to do it, and there's a way to support your child so that they're healthy, so they grow up to be healthy adults, healthy people. But really, I mean, like relationship, that's what I work with people on, is your relationship with yourself, your relationship with people,
Okay. No, let me ask. I should have asked you this earlier, but what got you into this whole therapy like field? How did that like what experiences did you encounter growing up to say, I want to be like a therapist or be in this field?
So I'm speaking to him right here. So believe it or not, so I used to work at Hmong American Partnership, and I used to work with some of our Hmong youth who were either involved in some kind of like crime, felony, and working to help them get back home and integrate back home with their families. And then I ran into Chu, and I think at the time I was exploring how I'm gonna do my work in the community, because I always felt like I was meant to do this kind of work, but I didn't know how to get there. And I think when I met Chu, I'm like, man, what is he again? He's a therapist.
Yeah.
And then I found out he's a marriage and family therapist, and I'm like, that's what I want to do.
Back in the day, I didn't look like
Man, Chu. I mean, nothing like you do today. Yeah.
No, it's different.
But yeah, I mean that's definitely. I mean, I tell Chu that all the time. But I think sometimes you just gotta meet people, and sometimes maybe things were meant to be. Like you're meant to meet people to learn. To grow. And so I was glad that I met Chu back in a few years ago, maybe a decade ago, and just learning and having that opportunity.
Well, thank you very much for the kind words. I was expecting more like, did you have anything happen in your personal life experience growing up? Okay, before meeting me, you say, you know what? I see a lot of this stuff going on in my community or going on around me that I feel like I can be a change agent, you know what I mean? And then the universe and the stars aligned and we met. And then, did you have any of those experiences growing up to say, I see these patterns I don't like, and how can I change this?
Well, I mean, the therapist part was true. Like that's it. Like I think when I met you and Yua, it was like that's what I want to do like the therapist part. But I think like I said, I've always felt like I was kind of like set to do this kind of work. I mean, like growing up, I mean, going through your own challenges, right? Going through your own inability to, inability or your not having the ability to connect with your parents the way that maybe you envision that you could, or the relationship that you could have with your parents in a way that you wish you could, like just kind of like the things that you struggle with, that I struggled with as a teenager, and the lack of maybe skills, the lack of coaching, the lack of many things relating to relationship. I think all of that contributes to it, and then just understanding that, like, growing up as a Hmong kid in Minnesota, in McDonald home, and like seeing a lot of things, like violence that happen to people, and then just kind of like trying to like see, how am I going to be a change agent, how am I going to be able to make any impact, when I do have the opportunity, or when I'm capable, when I'm mature enough to do it. Like, how am I going to do it? Like, that was always the question for me growing up, so yeah, I mean, really it was just like a kind of like almost like a yearning, that I've had ever since I was young. I think I've always been like a healer. Maybe I wasn't able to show it or do it, in those times, but it's like it's a gradual ability that you get better at as as you learn and grow.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this about the state of Hmong men in our community, right? What are your thoughts about how us Hmong men that are fathers and adults, like, do you think we're doing a good job reaching out to our younger folks, or do you think there's a lot of work to be done there?
you know, maybe in some families it's different, but I can say I don't only speak about what I've experienced.
Mm-hmm.
I think, you know, I think in a way, Hmong men are isolated. Even though we might go to gatherings, even though we might be part of, you know, these, you know, men group, macho group, we might talk really cool and, you know, talk about, you know, what we're doing in our life. But I really, you know, I feel like sometimes, you know, are we really being authentic
Mm-hmm.
about it? You know, you know, do you, you know, when you say what you said to your buddy, you know, is that you, or is that you just being cocky,
Yeah.
trying to,
Yeah.
you know, level up with your friend, you know, trying to, you know, outdo the other person, or is that, you know, like maybe that's just you, you know,
Mm-hmm.
but you know, is that authentic, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and on top of that, it's like the toxic masculinity, you know, of sometimes, you know, I think young people, or even not even young, but men in general don't understand or don't realize it, that like it's almost like I'm trying to like outdo myself, outdo other people, and it becomes really toxic to the point where I can't even like stop, or I can't control myself. Um, and I feel like there's a sense of you know, like a loss, you know, like loss of your own identity as a man, you know, because it's like maybe you're, you know, you grew up in a lifestyle where, you know, it's like you are the son, you know, you are entitled,
Mm-hmm.
you know, that you know, you can do these things that probably Hmong women cannot do,
Mm-hmm.
you know, because that does, I mean, I feel like that does something to you, where you have to be able to realize that, and try to take control of it, and try to, you know, be at peace, you know, at it, you know, with it too, but first being able to identify.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I feel like, you know, sometimes working with Hmong men, especially Hmong men and then Hmong boys, is identifying your own sense of feeling. You know,
Mm-hmm.
your how do you feel? You know, about, you know, like what's going on around you. You know, you might feel angry,
Yeah.
but you know, what are you able to do with that anger? You know, like do you
Mm-hmm.
punch some walls? Do you curse people out? But that's my question, is like, you know, how do you envision that leading you, you know, in the future?
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like that's one area where I think for Hmong men not being able to articulate it and not being able to recognize it, and it's just like a repeat cycle of like hurt, you know, like ongoing, like, you know, feeling like I need to blame people, you know, and just like going at it in that way. Um, I think that's where we need to do outreach. I think that's where we need to be able to have places where Zining Hmong, you know, are able to talk about that, because Zining Hmong is, you know, you're the one who's going to be training the next generation.
Yeah.
You know, do you want to be able to, you know, train them to just be, you know, to not be able to, you know, communicate,
Mm-hmm.
or you want to be able to train them to communicate in a healthy way,
Yeah.
you know, where they could relate to women, they could relate to other men, have a better relationship with, you know, other people, you know, because I think there's more than one way to be in a relationship with other men besides, you know, fist pumping and being tough. You know, I think that's fine, but you know, there's other ways of doing it too,
Yeah.
where you could connect with other men in a deeper way, so that it doesn't always have to be like high testosterone. You know?
Yeah. Right.
Because we're all gonna get old someday, you know,
Yeah.
and we're gonna have to eventually learn how to do without a lot of testosterone.
Yeah.
But you don't want to wait that long.
I'm there. But hey, man, so you have a private practice, right? So can you talk a little about that so that folks can know how to get a hold of you if they need
Sure.
to, you know, reach out?
Yeah. Yeah, so I have a counseling place, therapy place. It's called Twin Cities Mental Health and Couple Center. So I'm located out in Lake Elmo, but it's on the border of Lake Elmo, Oakdale, Woodbury. So it's on Radio Drive and Highway 94. So it's really easy to get there, right across from a golf course in Oakdale, but it's just on the Lake Elmo side. And I'm typically there like, in the evenings, and then I also, have sessions on Saturday morning. And so, if anyone's interested, anyone just, want to give it a test, give it a try, definitely give me a call, email me, text me. I respond either way. Should I leave my phone number?
Yeah, you can do it now, and I'll
Okay,
also
sure.
put a post up.
Sure. So I'll do my email, and then also my phone number. So email is, in English it's Vangneng, or Vangneng, but it's spelled VANGNENG at powerofhopes.org. So power is POWER, of is OF, hopes, HOPES.org. And then my phone number is 651-239-7160. And like I said, you can text, call, either way, or email.
All right, cool, man. Well, I know we're supposed to be somewhere at 6 o'clock too, so we'll end it here, and hopefully we can have like future interviews and hangouts like this, so that we can talk more about mental health in our community and how that relates to spirituality. So one quick thing before we go, and this is, you mentioned the word healer earlier, right? And I've always talked to my group about being a healer, and I believe that we're all healers to some degree. And I think what you're doing, you're basically a healer too, as a therapist, but it's a healer in a more westernized world. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, definitely talk therapy, is very Western. That's why we could kind of see like where, a lot of Hmong people don't really talk, but I think it's also a gift, that we're able to talk as human beings, and we have to utilize it. And so, I believe that, in the physical aspect of it, physical health and your mental health, I believe you have to have you gotta have, have it all in a way, or have a balance of it. Yeah.
Cool, man. All right, thanks for your time, and folks, thanks for listening and tuning in. I'll let you guys know if we have another session like this with Vangneng, but leave your comments below and let me know what you think, and we'll go from there. Thanks, man.
Thank you.
All right.